What he said was good afternoon. Yeah. How's everybody doing today? No, y'all got to do better than that. How's everybody doing today? All right, that's what we want to hear. We came to swing and have a good time. That's right. Where a lot of us come from, it's not this cold. Okay, so we got to bring the warmth. We have a great band you're going to see tonight. Right here, we have some friends of mine, one I haven't seen in a couple months. We used to play together a lot with Wynton Marsalis, Delphio's brother. But give it up on drums, Mr. Herlin Riley. That's right, this next gentleman on the bass, we've been playing with Delphio all around the world. We had the chance to go to Hawaii. That's what I said when I found out. Whoa. Okay, I better bring my bathing suit. Give it up for David Pulphus on the bass. All right, so we don't have a lot of time here today, so we're just going to talk a little bit about what we do. We all have a lot to bring and share with you. Before I get started, I usually like to tell people, I know we can't answer every question. We all have websites, we're all on Facebook, so if you don't get your chance, you can find us on social media. And we will get back to you. I'm good with it, I know Pulphus is, I know Mr. Riley is. So, like I said, remember what we're talking about if you have any questions. If we don't get to you now, we will get to you. And maybe come back and see you here, or maybe somewhere else on the planet. So right now I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Pulphus to let him get things started, because he is the base, the foundation of what's going on in this rhythm section in the big band. Give it up, Mr. Pulphus.
What's up, everybody? So everybody here plays in the rhythm section, is that the truth? Raise your hand if you play bass, which is the best instrument in the world. Everybody knows that. Yeah. All right, drummers.
Oh yeah.
Percussionists. You know. All right. Any percussion? No. Too bad. And we have guitars. Piano players, pianists. All right, cool. And are we? What grade are we in? Generally.
High school.
High school, everybody's in high school. All right, cool. Younger? Middle school? Nice. Elementary, I like it. Middle school, no. Middle school. All right, cool. So, before I begin, I want you to definitely think about questions. Because we can stand here and talk for an hour each, which could benefit us more so than you. But throughout my days of living on life, I realized that the questions that you ask will determine the wisdom that you seek.
Oh, there's the quote.
All right.
See what I'm saying? You hear that? I'll say it again. No, really, because all through life we have these workshops, these master classes, and we sit, if we're lucky enough, we're able to sit at the foot of greatness, or men or women of great wisdom. And we just let the opportunity pass us because we're not ready to receive it. And that could happen to some of you today, and maybe you're just not ready to receive it. But hopefully that you're hungry enough so that you can actually think about what you want, think about where you are in your development, and how we can quickly give you some wisdom nuggets.
Well, thank you all very, very much. And I just wanted just to tag on to what the brothers already said. You know, the music is a journey, it's a quest. It's not a destination. You never arrive. And you know, and one of the important things about being a musician, to be successful, you really have to have humility and confidence, and they have to be balanced. And the confidence allows you to get on the stage and get up there and do what you do. But the humility always allows you to always seek information and to know that there's some more information that there's out there for you and more things for you to learn. So with that being said, you know, first of all, I mean, are there any questions concerning what we did? I mean, I can start explaining what we did already, you know, but if there's any questions concerning that, you know, you can pose it to any one of us. If there's not, you know, we can just start talking about it. But yes, sir.
How do you choose to place your accents on all your different drums in a way that makes it swing? I've heard that what makes second line different, or what makes it swing, is the way that the accents are placed. So what do you think about, or how do you choose where to place those and how you play that dynamically?
Okay. Well, there's a fundamental rhythm to playing second line street beats. And but then once you learn that particular rhythm, then it's a thing about the nuances of the rhythm and how to, as you said, the accents, where to place the accents, and what beats to kind of lay out, and what beats to make it more pronounced. So I can kind of give you just a small demonstration of that, and just to kind of give you an idea of what what that's like. So first of all, it starts up. It has like a cadence to it. So it's 1, 2, so and then also what's important is that in that cadence we play an accent on what we call the big 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll just give you a little demonstration of that, and I'll just kind of embellish it a little bit to kind of show you what accents kind of fall. So it starts off with a roll like a drag on the 4th beat, on the big 4. That's where it starts, with the bass, snare drum and the bass drum hitting the big 4 at the same time. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. The snare drum goes, starts on the big 4. 1, just by myself. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. But I'll show you, I'm just embellish it a little bit and play some nuance and play some other rhythm that goes with that. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I've been playing music all of my life. My grandfather played the drums for Louis Armstrong in like 1913 in the Waves home in New Orleans. My mother played piano and organ and sang in the church. Her brothers were a saxophone player, a drummer, and also a trumpet player. And so they would always come into the house. I was raised in my grandmother's house, and my uncles always had a combo. And so they had a jazz band, a small quintet, and they would come into the rehearsal at my grandmother's house. And I was a little baby. I was an infant in the crib, and they would rehearse in the room with me. And so I heard the music as a child growing up all the time. So, and when I got big enough to reach the foot pedal, my uncle and my grandfather set me behind some drum and put some sticks in my hand and kind of told me what to do. And so I just started doing those things, and lo and behold, I just became a musician. And I just, music has been with me all of my life. So I didn't choose music, it just came to me. And I'm very, very fortunate and very fortunate and blessed to have the gift of music, because music has been has supported me and supported my family. I've raised a family of 5 children, and I never had another job other than playing music. So music is has been very, very good to me. But also inside of that, once you have natural ability, you still have to hone some skills. You have to practice, and you have to learn the rudiments of music. I learned how to read. You know, I practice all the time because it's a joy to me. It's not something it's not a labor. So, you know, and also I want to say that when young people, when you find something that you really, really love to do, that, you know, if you find something that you love to do and you figure out a way to make money doing it, then you never work a day in your life. You just have, you have fun going to work or going to do whatever you do to make money. So whether that be music or whether that be, you know, any other endeavor in your life, if it's something that's really, that you're passionate about, that really, really touches you and that moves you to do it, if you do it, you would do it for nothing. You know, just for the joy of doing it. But if you figure out a way to do something that you enjoy doing and figure out a way to get paid for it, you never work. So music has been that way for me. It's a joy and a passion that I have for playing. And so when I'm behind the drums, I'm like at home. I have so much fun just playing. Whether I'm playing for 2 people or I'm playing for 10,000 people, I play with the same kind of enthusiasm, the same kind of joy. So, you know, so it's like cliche when somebody say that music chose me, but it's very, very true in my life that music chose me. I didn't choose it. It was always there for me, and I just happened to hone the skills to play and to be, you know, be a part of different bands. Yes, ma'am.
So how do you as a pianist react to changes?
Talk to the piano player.
Yeah, how I react to changes. Is there
Microphone.
another mic? There's one that works.
We have these other.
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they on?
Yeah, it's on. Yeah. Okay, the question was, how do I react to changes? When I look at changes, I respond to seeing the chord qualities, and deciding really the first thing I think is what's going on in the melody, actually. And then determining, based upon that, then I say, okay, this will work, this won't work. Sometimes what I want to do doesn't necessarily fit, you know, so I have to make a split-second decision. Also, a lot for me determines on what's going on with the guys around me. Herlin might play something, he might play a rhythm on the kick drum that I hear that I like, and I might use that to actually develop what I play on the changes. So that's part of it. Now, when I play changes, a lot of it comes from practice. What Herlin said earlier is very appropriate. You know, we love to do this. You know, this is our passion. We do it regardless. But a lot of the time we've spent doing this comes from practicing. So a lot of it is things I've learned, checking out chord harmony, studying other piano players, a lot of transcribing, studying some classical music, doing scales, so that when I come across a new piece of music, or even an old piece of music, and I see some chord changes, I can actually express what I want to do, and I'm not doing the same thing every time. For me, that's very critical. I have ideas, but I want to make those ideas always turn into something that's new. And some people may say, well, how do you do that? That's difficult. Well, you practice doing it. It's not going to happen overnight. You know, that's why you try to play as much as possible. You know, one of the things I do is I have guys come to the house, we play music, write music, rehearse music. Sometimes we'll do the same tunes over and over and over, but I'm actually trying to figure out how can I make this melody work and what can I play, create my own melodies over these chord changes to make it work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, and I ask for positive feedback most of the time. You know, but I'm willing to take the negative feedback too and actually fix what I'm doing. So when I get chord changes, that's all of what I'm thinking about. And once you start doing it, it gets faster and faster. You know, it's like working out and running. The more you do it, hopefully the better you get at it, if you do it correctly.
So when you guys are playing together, how much do you communicate before you play, and how do you communicate when you're actually playing?
Let Pulphus answer that.
At all times. So we have conversations. So before I answer that question, what we do is communicate with one another. There's been a lot of jargon about having music being taught as a secondary language, but I don't think we do that with any fidelity. And if we will begin to really embrace teaching music as a secondary language, our primary language, then I think it will demystify a lot of what we do. one of the phenomena that I'm always amazed at is that no matter where a child is born, what country, it speaks the language that it hears. Think about that. When a baby is born in China, if you take it from China and bring it to Africa, it will speak an African language, not a Chinese language, unless their parents come with it and speak their Chinese language. So likewise with this music. So I can speak personally for myself. Like when I didn't really hear jazz until I was in high school. And once I did, I called that before that I called that my adolescent years, because I didn't even know it at the time, but when I look back, like Steve Jobs says that you don't really connect the dots when you're doing it, it's when you look back, you actually connect the dots. But once thinking, why did I do that? Because literally, my parents and them thought I was crazy, because all I wanted to hear was Miles and Paul Chambers and John Coltrane, and I don't want to hear no more Whitney, no more Mariah Carey, my day. No, I didn't want to hear any of that stuff. And for me, I just wanted to hear the language. I want to hear what the music sounded like, because if I don't hear the language, then I can't reproduce the language. And that's what happens when a baby hears its dialect, its natural dialect. It communicates. And quiet as kept, when a baby learns that language, it doesn't learn how to read first. It reproduces. It mimics what it hears. And it continues to do that until it says little bitty words, mama, dada, go, stop, whatever. But it will begin to say more words and say more sentences, and the parents will have dialogue with them. And so likewise, that's what we do. We know how to speak this language. So it's not a moment that you should not be. Now there's musicians that get on stage and don't listen to one another and don't communicate well, and it shows when they're playing. It's not about good or bad, it's just you can tell when musicians are listening to one another. It would be no different if we would try to have a conversation about football. You talking about football, I'm talking about basketball, or whatever. Like, hey, what are we talking about? We talking about touchdown, 3-point play? What are we talking about? It's the same thing. So at the moment of conception, when we decided to do this, we have visual cues that we talk to them. Sometimes we just say, sometimes we just know musically, let's do this, or we may hear a rhythm, which is, a phrase that someone says that we want to play with or play upon and build upon and just develop that conversation. It can go left or right. It can go to a total different direction than you think it would be going in. And that's the joy of playing, because you never know where the conversation is going to end up. And that's the beauty of what we do, because we actually can create new forms of talking to one another.
I just want to just tag on one thing, and that is, to play this music and to communicate, as Mr. Pulphus said, it's about communication, having a dialogue. In order to have a dialogue, you have to listen. And listening is different from just hearing. When you listen, that means that you're focused. When you can focus in and you can engage in the conversation. When you're just hearing stuff just in the air. We may hear air conditioning running or something behind us, or hear the television set playing. But if we're not listening to it, we don't know what they're saying. We just hear the noise. So when you play the music, it's an exercise. It's a mental exercise to really listen while you're engaging in playing. So listening is very, very important. Not just hearing the other players who are playing with you. Be able to listen to them.
Yes, Brian. Question. Oh, take us from my man back here.
This is a question for when you play the drums, and you know what drums to hit and where to play and when to play. Is that practice or is that like a feel?
When I play the drums, do I know which drums to hit?
No.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what I meant was like when you're playing with these guys and when you're playing in general, when you're just playing, is it like practice or is it just a feel?
Like what fits where?
Yeah, like what fits where, is it practice or a feel?
Well, it's really, what it is like Mr. Pulphus said, it's a dialogue and it's a communication. Now, I've learned how to play the drums. When I play the drums, there are certain rhythms that I can play that will identify a particular style. So, we can play Happy Birthday, and I can just change the rhythm and play it and have it sound a whole different way each time with the same melody. So the rhythms that you play on the drum set will identify a particular style. For instance, if I play Happy Birthday in a funk style, Or if I play the Latin, happy, say what? Happy. See? So, if I play it in the 3/4 style, happy birthday. So the rhythm will identify the style of music that you play. So the drums, and I think all music starts with rhythm. You start, even if you play a whole note, for those of you who understand, who had the experience of having a landline telephone. I don't know if you guys had that experience, probably not. But when you have a landline telephone, when you pick up the receiver to call someone, you just have a dial tone that goes boom, just a long tone. But if you call someone and the line is busy, it goes boom, 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 boom. So that rhythm kind of puts you in a space to make you want to dance or make you want to do something, because you can put some music to that. Boom, boom, boom. So rhythm, all music starts with rhythm, and the rhythm that you play will identify a particular style. Did that answer for you? Yeah. Okay, great.
And also to kind of piggyback on I think what you're getting at as well. So there's like two phases. You have to really be a scholar of not just your instrument, but of whatever it is you're trying to do. You got to do some research to see what happened before you became aware of it. Because chances are a lot has occurred before you became aware of it. So once you do your research, you understand the people that laid the framework of what you're trying to do. And then I like to piggyback, chime in with what Van Gogh said. They said, like, how did you paint so beautifully? He said, well, I dream my dreams, and then I paint my dreams. So that happens with us. We think about, after we know how this knowledge is, how it was actually originated, then we have the ability to use our imagination. Einstein said that imagination is greater than knowledge, right? So we have the ability to create something out of thin air that never existed before because of said knowledge that we've already did with our scholarship learning. At that moment, in our practice arena, when we practice, we know how certain drums, piano, bass, horns, it doesn't matter what you're playing, you know how that sounds because you spent enough time with it. If whatever relationship that you're in, if you don't live with that person, place, or thing at enough time, then you won't have a tight bond. So you got to spend time with notes. You got to spend time with the bass. You got to spend time with the drum. You got to spend time with each instrument so that you can become one with it eventually. So once you do that, now you have your whole palette which you can choose from so you can paint whatever picture you want to do at any given time. So it's that whole concept that you want to deal with.
One more question. This guy back here. Yeah. He's been having He's had his hand up the whole time. This guy.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, so how do you practice soloing on those?
How practice? We can all chime. I'll be brief. Okay, so practice soloing on the bass. First of all, it's basically what I've said already. You got to first you got to know what you want to say. You got to understand what can I contribute to this. You got to understand if I'm having a conversation, someone says something like you just asked me a question, immediately I'm thinking, okay, what's my response to that? And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm gonna take this approach. And it's basically, you have these parameters of improvisation where there's a guideline which you can follow, and then once you understand what the guidelines is, then you can take liberties to say this, that, and other. So my whole approach is my personal, and it's different from everybody. Each and every one of us is unique, and we have a different approach to playing. And that's why we take criticisms really hard, because everybody plays their personality. So when we talk about each other playing, we take offense because we're saying, but you don't like me. You don't like what I just did because I just was vulnerable to you and you didn't accept me, right? But we gotta learn to not to understand there's a difference between really shunning you and offering criticism to you. But the overall approach is the feeling of what is it do I want to say and how can I contribute to this and how can I make this be my personality realized, So that's kind of like my big picture of how I want to approach improvisation.
I would say at this point in your development, spend a little time. Definitely listen, like you said. If you hear something you like, figure out how to play it. Practice your skills. If you can, set up a schedule. It doesn't have to be long. This point in your life is very crucial to what happens later because you have time now. So even if it's 30 minutes, take whatever time that is to listen, to play your instrument, practice, listen to other people, and get as much good advice as you can.
You want to chime in about improvisation?
Improvisation is it's an extension of yourself, as Mr. Pulphus said. And but in order to improvise, you have to really understand the rules. Or I should say, you should become one with your instrument, because it's just like having a conversation. As we talked about earlier. When you have the command of the language, then you can communicate with other people. And sometimes in your communication, someone will take you to another path in your speaking. So, when you have a command of your vocabulary, then you can go into that arena, whatever arena with them. So it's the same way with the instrument. If you learn the rudiments of the instrument and learn, sometimes the instrument itself, playing with other people will take you to another journey, even just playing. But you have enough control of your fundamentals of the instrument that you can go into that other arena and feel comfortable, because now, I have command of this instrument. So it's just like having the command of the language that you speak, your dialect. Having the command of that, it takes you into other directions. Having the command of your instrument will allow you to go into other arenas as well. So improvisation is just an extension of yourself, and being put into a certain situation and being able to navigate yourself on your instrument through that situation.
All right, we have to wrap it up. Like I said, it's been a pleasure. We're going to be here the rest of the evening, afternoon. If you have questions, find us on social media. We will definitely get back to you. Give it up, Herlin Riley on the drums, David Pulphus on the bass. I'm Richard Johnson on the piano.